Welcome to Uncorked and Unscripted, the podcast and video series that gives you VIP access to the unscripted stories of people I've met through events. In this episode of Uncorked and Unscripted, Sarah Owens, lead singer of the Nashville band Hudson Valley, joins us to discuss life performing on Broadway each weekend, that one time that the band came to small town South Dakota, and her signature sexy red hair. Now uncork your favorite beverage and listen up as we spend the next half hour unscripted. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Uncorked and Unscripted. I'm your host, Addie Graham-Kramer of the event company. We are so excited today because we have one of our friends that we've had the opportunity to work with over the years, Sarah Owens, the lead singer for the country music band Hudson Valley. I feel like we should be doing like a woo, here we go.
All about it.
I know. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. We are excited to have you on.
Me. Yeah. This is so exciting.
We were just chatting before we started recording here about our dogs and green velvet furniture, and we just have so many similarities, and the love for Buc-ee's, which maybe we'll talk a little bit about here later today. But we have had the opportunity to work together for a couple events over the years, one down in Nashville, that's where we first met for one of our corporate events, and then one here in South Dakota for a big fundraiser for an organization. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but what was your experience like in South Dakota? Because this was your first time here, right? Last year? Was that it?
It was last year. It was I gotta tell you, the boys still talk about it because they just want to go back because everybody was so much fun. And we weren't sure what to expect, but like we flew into Sioux Falls and then we got to rent a car from there and then had to drive an hour and a half to where we were doing the show. And it was just, there was nothing. So like we're maybe 20 minutes into it and the boys are like, what the hell?
Where
have
are we at,
ourselves
Sarah?
into?
Yeah, where
like,
are
is this where we die? I don't know. Like, and I'm like, I don't know what this is going to be like. And when we pulled in, not only was it like the cutest little town, but every person in that town came out. And when we were done, they were so much fun. They didn't want the party to stop. So they were like begging us to go to their bar. That was all, like one bar. And they were like, this is where we go. We went there. Everybody that was at the event, the fundraiser, found out that we were going. So they all came.
You're like the celebrity.
They had to call in 3 other bartenders. We ran out of beer.
I did not even hear that.
We ran out of beer because the whole place it was the funniest thing. They were like, we weren't expecting this. And I was like, I walked in, I was like, I am so sorry for what's about to happen. And it was just
little
insanity.
disclaimer.
I was like, I can't, I don't take responsibility for this, but I was like, but they're about to show up in force. And they did.
I will tell you, people are still talking about it. I did not hear about the extra bartender. So our team kept that from me, which is pretty funny, to be honest.
But, it was so funny.
I mean, it's always interesting, I think, whenever you go into new cities and new communities, but especially when you've got big city Nashville coming into little small community of hundreds or thousands of individuals. And here you are.
It was, I'm telling you, it was one of the highlights of everything we've ever done. We absolutely loved it.
We'll welcome you back anytime. But for those that have not heard of Hudson Valley, why don't you just share a little bit about you, the guys in the band, kind of how it all came to be, truly, because you are this like ball of fire, which is so fun. And obviously your red hair is such a statement piece, which we'll probably talk a little bit about today. But I want to hear the story of the band and how you all came together.
It was an odd thing. Well, so my husband Richie is our drummer. So I had been writing with some songwriters, some major 90s country hit songwriters down here in 2017. And they had signed me to a label as an artist development thing that they were going to be building me up, and we were writing songs and getting things together. And I was going to be a female solo artist. And I was platinum blonde because I've been platinum blonde for 20 years. And that was my thing. And we started kind of playing music out, and we're doing a showcase in Nashville at this place that is no longer with us called the Sutler Saloon. And the red hair came to be because the lights kept hitting me, but the lights were red. And because my hair was platinum, it looked red.
Yeah.
And we had such interest from other labels and other music executive people that it was just, it happened to come up that they didn't need another Carrie Underwood.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Another Blondie.
And that we don't need another whatever. And then the producers that we were working with, we were like, we don't have in country music is a female fronted band. And I don't mean like Lady Antebellum or Little Big Town, like that. That's like Old Dominion with a girl.
Yeah.
That's what we don't have. And that was kind of like let's go a different route here. And then in the same week, it was like, can you dye your hair red? And
what did you say?
I walked into this, I was working at a spa in Brentwood. And the salon that we were there, it was Brentwood is like that's where all the real famous people live. They all live. So like Hillary Scott,
polished,
it's very, but all of like the celebrities and stuff. Carrie comes in. Hillary Scott was in all the time. Her mom, Linda Davis, was in all the time. And I had actually talked to Linda Davis. It's so funny, but I asked her about it because Hillary's married to, she's the lead singer for Lady Antebellum.
Yep.
Her husband is their drummer. And so I had kind of talked about how my husband is my drummer and we have that in common. And I had said, I was like, they want me to be a band. And she was the one who said to me, and Linda Davis had, hits with Reba McEntire. Like she was, something. And she was like, even for Hillary to be my daughter, she had to do something different. So she's like, do what we don't have. And so I went in and I made an appointment that day and I was like, we're dyeing my hair red. And they were like, well, I'm like, just don't. I was like, this is what it is. Let's figure this out. And we went back, and then Hudson Valley became Hudson Valley because it was originally all for me and all my solo music as a solo artist. And Will Rambo, the producer we were working with at the time, he was like, Hudson Valley is where I'm from in New York, the Hudson River Valley. And he had said, he was like, well, what do we just call the band Hudson Valley? And I remember my husband and I were like, well, that's stupid. And he was like, no, like, you don't understand. Nobody knows that it's like a place, like, unless you're from there.
Right.
And I got to tell you, unless they're from there, they don't know.
So did you guys cycle through a lot of different names before? No. Or it was, that was it? You just decided. So who took the lead on it?
Dye your hair red and be Hudson Valley. Okay. Wow. That was it.
And you bought in and just said, here you go. Wow. Good for you.
I was like, whatever, because they were saying, Nashville's a 10-year town. Yeah. And that's, the minimum for, an overnight success to happen usually takes about 10 years. So that's like, the joke of, overnight. There is no overnight. So it was like, let's do something different to ramp up the process a little bit. So it was like, we don't have any, Reba and Winona, those are the only real redheads. And I was like, and you can't compare me to those two. So it was like, and then we don't have a female fronted band. So that was I was like,
are there even any other redheads out there though, besides those two now even?
No.
Gosh, I was just trying to think.
Kaylee Hammock is technically like a natural redhead, but
interesting.
Yeah, no, we're few and far between. So it was, and it's been such a staple that I would have never, I never thought it would be what it is, but so many people will come up to me no matter where we are because they recognize my hair.
Yeah, it's a conversation piece. So funny. So funny. I don't have red hair, but I have bangs, and these have been just a staple of mine. I've had them a few years ago, cut them literally the month before the world shut down, pandemic, stupid, and ended up figuring out how to trim them myself from YouTube clips, and my hairstylist like coming to the driveway to cut hair anyway. But it's kind of become like my staple piece too, and it becomes your signature, right? Like it's your look. It is. I know the first time that I met you was in Nashville. First of all, I thought you were so genuine and real. And we've had the opportunity to work with so many different artists all across the years, from Martina to Scotty McCreery to Keith Urban. I mean, to so many individuals, Toby Keith as well. I mean, just so many people. Yeah, so many people. But I will say one thing that I've always appreciated with you is I just thought you were very genuine. You were very down to earth. But then the sexy, fiery red hair. And yeah, it does become like a staple piece, but when you're on stage, you just own it. But now it's just become part of you.
It's me at this point. Yes.
So do you get to write off your salon bills to the band then, because it's really part of
kind of like actually my best friend is my hairdresser, and her and I 2 years ago we built houses together, so she lives around the block, and awesome. I go over every 4, because this is like a color that you need to be on top
Yeah.
of. So
Oh
about
yeah, for sure.
every 4 weeks or so, she just dyes my hair,
Wow.
and
Wow. Wow.
we,
Wow.
do stuff at her house. So it's all in her kitchen sink. It's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, before we dive in a little bit more, because we call it uncorked and unscripted, I want to hear the uncorked piece about you. So if you were a beverage, what would be your beverage of choice and why?
I'll be very real. I am a tall can of PBR with a side of Jack Daniels as
Love
a
it.
shot. That is me
Love it.
to a
Love it.
T. It's just who I am. It's my
Love
go-to.
it.
It's my thing, and I am not frilly by any
That's
means, and
good.
it just there's just something about a glass of Jack Daniels,
Yeah.
or literally any
I
whiskey,
love it.
bourbon. I'm a bourbon girl. That's my thing. So
Yeah.
it's just,
I'm a
but
big
I love a PBR.
Well, a cold one. And I do like bourbon, but I'm more of over the years, I've kind of gotten into more of the smashes. So I'll add the fruit into it. I cannot do it
Gotcha.
straight. So if you told me to do it straight, I could probably gag just thinking of it. But yeah, I love beer too. I'm a beer girl. I like pretty dark beers, but any beer is
Gotcha.
really good with me too.
Well,
I love
that
it.
was always the running joke, is that, like when it comes to alcohol, I really don't have a preference, and that's
Yeah.
the problem. So,
I love it. So how did you all get started? So you moved to Nashville in 2018. Is that right? Is that
yes,
when? Okay.
yes,
So have you always had this passion for music? Have you always knew like this is what you wanted to do? Or like, I want to
always,
hear all the thing. Okay.
always. Since my parents would say 2 or 3, I've been singing. I've been professionally singing since I was 6 or 7. I used to do jingles for
Fun.
toys on commercials, and
Wow.
dolls and Barbies and that kind of, that those types of things. And
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be not just a singer, but a country music singer. And in
Yeah.
New York, that was weird.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
from the city though. I'm
Right.
from the Hudson Valley. So I'm
Yeah.
from where the apples are, the Angry Orchard is, which
Sure.
is the Angry
Yeah. Yeah.
Orchard
Yeah.
hard cider. Like that's
Yeah.
where I grew up. So that's like my thing. Is I'm not. It's actually, I've met more rednecks in New York than I have down in Tennessee, and that's the God's honest truth. So, but yeah, no, that was always a thing.
So with Richie on drums, and then you've got Andrew on bass, right? And then Matt, right? Guitar.
Maz on guitar. Yes,
Yes.
we've actually just switched bass
Did you?
players.
Okay.
We just changed bass players. Andrew wanted to kind of go a different route,
Sure.
which is totally understandable. He didn't really want to do the Broadway thing anymore, and
Yeah.
he's kind of got a new opportunity to do some stuff.
Good for him.
Still one of our very best friends, so it was nothing,
Yeah.
no bad break
Yeah.
by any means. But we actually bought on Kyle Thurkey, and he is
Fun.
he has
Good
a
for you guys.
bright green mohawk, and it just fits the vibe.
I love
Because
it.
between me and him, there is no mistaking. Like, we were walking through the strip in Las Vegas 2 months ago, and people were just screaming that, "Oh my God, it's Hudson Valley!" And it was like he ran after them. Like, you knew who. You can't
That's so
mistake us now.
awesome.
So it's so good. It's so
So
good.
how did you all connect then? What's the story behind, obviously Richie, yes, but I mean, what's the story with the other guys? How'd you all connect?
Richie was a part of my deal. And I said, I was like, because Richie and I used to play in bands in New York for a couple of years, and he was my drummer then. And I told the people that we were working with, I was like, we're a package deal. No matter what I'm doing, this is
Awesome.
my
Good for you
drummer.
guys.
This is how this is. Like, I'm laid down the law. That's what this is. And then, we went through a couple of different players. Andrew was
Sure.
our original bass player. He's from Jersey. So we actually had mutual friends. We met up down here in Nashville. We had actually moved to Nashville the same week, which
Wow.
was, but we had never known each other back in New York or New Jersey. So it was so random. So we had hung out, and we were like, "You want to be our bass player?" He was like, "Yeah." And then that was just how that happened. And then we went through a couple different guitar players before we really honed in on Matt. And
Sure.
our biggest thing before we did anything with asking somebody to be part of our band was knowing that we could hang out, because that's such a crucial
you're
part
together
of.
hours and hours and hours
We're in
and
the
travel and
car for
everything.
12 hours. We're in, different states, sleeping
Right.
together. Like,
Yeah.
like we need to know that we can hang out
Yeah.
before anything. And even with Kyle now, Kyle had been filling in for us for the past few months before we really kind of decided to make this change. And we knew that this was like the right feel. So, but it was just, we tried other people out, and we got our click, and it's worked, and
It just works.
it's been Hudson Valley ever since.
Well, the energy is true truly connectivity on stage when we watch you and when you perform together, but you can see that love. And I think from our side, we're kind of in the same boat. And when we are on site with events all over the country, same thing. If we're traveling together, if we're on site an event for 18 hours or however many hours it is,
Right.
you need to be with the people that you enjoy. I
You
mean,
have to
there could
like
be
the people you're with.
yeah, there could be
Literally.
porta potty moments too. Yes, like you're saying, like you're sleeping in weird situations or whatever it looks like. I mean, you just need to be able to love each other, respect each other, but also to have tough conversations with each other if things are not working out and what it looks like. Because I feel like when you're in those situations, stress sometimes can be very high and you need to be able to have sometimes difficult conversations. But when you're with people that you enjoy, you respect, and you love, I think it makes it a little bit easier from that side of things.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. Interesting.
Totally agree.
So you are all the house band for Ole Red in Nashville. Are you doing stuff in Vegas now too, then?
We are. We've already gone out twice. We were originally supposed to open Ole Red Las Vegas.
Okay.
And we had set it out for January was the original time frame. But they didn't get some kind of certificate. I don't know. Something happened. To be able to actually open.
Sure.
So that got pushed back, and then we weren't able to go out because when they were going to redo the opening, we had already been booked out. It wasn't going to work. So we went out for the first time as the first band from Broadway to go out and play Ole Red Las Vegas, and that was in March. Fun. And it was awesome. Like they
insane.
There had been other bands out there, and there had been other bands, that were even from Nashville, but we are the Friday, Saturday night
You're the
Broadway
OGs.
Band. Like it was, it's a different vibe. And like, it's one of those things, but we've earned that spot and we've worked our way up to that, so like you could have people who come out from Nashville and, they play the 11 to 2 a.m. on a Sunday or a Monday. That's not the same as a Friday, Saturday night, So when we came out to Vegas for the first time, they're like, what the hell? Like it was so much fun. So then they'd asked us to come out every month, and
good for you guys.
We can't do that. So we're doing every other month. So we're back again for July 4th. We'll be out the next
fun.
time.
That'll be fun.
We'll be out that week, the first week of July. Yeah.
Well, for those that have not been to Nashville before, Sarah keeps talking about Broadway. So Broadway is kind of the big strip, and Ole Red is right there. It's on a corner space, from what I recall, right? On a
Broadway, it's the Third Avenue Broadway. Yep.
Yeah. How did that all happen with Blake Shelton and that? I mean, how'd you get into that piece of it with Ole Red?
I don't know.
Auditions and it just happens. So people know people.
Kind of like it's very hard to get into that scene. There are you've seen Broadway. There's different
all the time.
Different circuits is what they're all called down here. So if you play with one circuit, you can kind of play on the other bars that person owns, kind of a thing. We are owned by the Opry. So the Grand Ole Opry is who makes and breaks the decisions of what goes into that building, particularly for Ole Red. So they are the hardest to get into. And when you do get into it, you don't really leave, kind of a thing.
Congratulations to you guys. What an honor for you.
Thank you. No, they've taken like such good care of us that we love them beyond. But Richie actually, in 2018, well, he had been filling in for a couple guys that were playing there as their drummer. And then I would come out and watch them, and I would come up and sing every once in a while when somebody wanted a break. And we started kind of making our own relationships through that way. And then actually, I believe 2019, Richie started working security at Ole Red and would be part of the team that when Blake would come in, Richie would be part of his security. And Blake always just loved Richie. His brother who passed away, his name is Richie. So he loved Richie.
That's awesome.
So it was we kind of grew a relationship with everybody there. And we started off as the Sunday morning band. So we started doing, those kind of, when people were coming in and there would be like, 20, 30 people. And now we're hitting capacity every Friday night, so it's been an insane change, but we've been playing there. We just celebrated 6 years. So we're one of the OG bands to play for Ole Red Nashville.
Good for you. So. Don't you just get goosebumps sometimes just talking about it?
Yeah. It's because it's surreal. You know what I mean? Just to think, because it was not easy. None of it was easy. And to think of how almost how quickly, because it feels like it's
Yeah.
been forever, but at the same token, I'm like,
Right.
it's really not. It
Yeah.
really hasn't been. This has taken off just in the past 2 years. Everything has changed,
Are
which
you
has
ready for
been
this
this.
ride? Do you feel
We've
like?
been, yes, I've been
Yeah.
waiting so long, so long.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think from my standpoint, I mean, it's taken us also many years to get to, I think we've at, so where we're at as a company. So I started the company back in 2013, just doing the corporate and nonprofit events, some of these social events as well. No weddings whatsoever, but we just have had this incredible opportunity to be able to now do events or have had events in 22 different states. But it takes so much blood, sweat, and tears. And I know exactly what you're saying, the behind the scenes, and you feel like, gosh, I've worked so hard for this moment and to get there.
yeah,
And there's a time, and I've shared this with some other people before, but we had an event with Toby Keith a few years back. And I remember getting on the stage before he was to perform. I had to do the intro actually to Tracy Lawrence before he opened up for him. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I did. And I said, I'm not a fan of these woo girls, right? Like the woo type of woo girl. And I got up on stage in front of 10,000 people and I wooed at the end. I'm like, give it up for Tracy Lawrence. And I'm like, woo. I'm thinking, my gosh, I am the woo girl. Please. I do not want to be this woo girl, but I for sure was the woo girl. But I get up on that stage and I told our team that was up with me, I said, you need to take a peek and just look around we have 10,000 bodies in this arena. And it's because of things that we have done to help get
yeah,
us to where we are. And it is, and I still get goosebumps when I talk about it because it is that surreal moment of thinking, my gosh, I've had this great opportunity. I've worked so hard to get where we are. And we did it together as a team because it's not just you. It's not just Richie. It's the everybody, right? That's helped to
yeah.
get you to where you are. And it's the people like doing security. It's all this stuff that helps to really position you to where you are. And sometimes those surreal moments, I don't take them for granted. I'm sure you don't either, but it's always just the
No,
pinch me piece of thinking, gosh, what's next? But
it's insane. And
yeah.
when you look back on it and like in hindsight, just the little things that
Yeah.
maybe somehow trickled into something else that you
Yeah.
would have never thought.
Right.
But like it's so wild. And we were actually just talking about this is so random, but it was just the woman who hired Richie for Ole Red. She was the head of security, Jackie. She's one of my best friends now.
Oh, fun.
And so we've, had this great relationship, but she is now just in the past 2 years, she has now married Blake's keyboard player, Philip, and they just had their baby girl 2 months ago. And
Oh,
Richie walked her down the aisle to like it just, but
wow.
not like none of it would have
Wow.
happened if she didn't
Yeah.
hire Richie all this, you know what I mean? Like it's so
Yeah.
wild. And we've had such a great relationship, built such a great relationship
Right.
with the whole Blake Shelton team now. And it's
Yeah.
because of that, you know what I mean? Like we were in there, like his wedding, like it's wild, like just how
How
these
it all
weird
connects
things,
together.
how they just happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been such a wild ride, but it's so cool.
Well, I think you do need to give yourself a lot of credit though, because I do feel like every one of you, when you're on stage, it is that genuine feel that you give off to people, but it's real though. That's the thing that I like about it because you've been around other artists I know that have not had that piece of it where it's all show and then they come off stage. And I'm sure you could write a book and I could probably add to that book, but it's just
Hey.
we have that opportunity to be able to see people in a different light. And then when they're on stage, it's sometimes so different. I feel like with you all, it's the same. Like when you're at the bar in Platte, South Dakota, is who you get
Yeah.
when you're on stage, who you get when you're on stage. So that's the thing I love about it. But
Well, thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate that. We
yeah,
we pride ourselves on that. And again, the biggest part about it is that we are friends and we
yeah, yeah,
thoroughly enjoy what we're
right,
doing. So that's like, I mean, there's very few times in the past 6 years that it's felt like work.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
for
like
sure.
that must mean that we're doing something right
No,
because it's
I
very
agree.
hard work.
Yeah,
And it doesn't, if people think that we're doing nothing but having a good time, then I'm doing my job right.
yeah. It's
You
not
know?
just PBR and
No,
Jack all the time. There's
it's
a
not.
lot of work that goes into all this
It's a
stuff. But
lot
yeah.
of work.
So from your side, I want to know I'm going to dig a little personal here. I want to know like, how do you get grounded for all the shows and all the events? Because you're not just playing Ole Red, you're playing events like that we have, and you're playing other private events or public events. Like, what keeps you grounded throughout this process?
My band, like
Yeah,
if it was anything like, I feel like I get not weird, but I get like a heightened sense of just when things aren't the same. You know what I mean? So like
sure.
if we've had people who are coming in to fill in for somebody, or somebody can't make a gig. So we got to kind of, rearrange. We've been very accommodating. And that's like one of my big things is that we've gotten to this point that if one of us has something come up or an emergency or then we're not doing it. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like
Sure.
I don't want to be three of us and somebody who's seen us play one time and they want to come out. Like it's not that. We're not just an artist that has a backing band. We are a band. And when people come out to see us, they expect to see the same four people, so it's very, these boys aren't hired guns, and I can't just replace them at any given time.
Right.
Like this is very much a thing that we've built up together. And if we're all there together, that keeps me sane. And I know what Matt's going to do before Matt does it. Matt knows what Richie's going to do before Richie. Like we're such a unit now at that, so it's like, depending on if it's a Thursday night or a Friday night in Old Red, or, next month we're playing the Grand Ole Opry, the Plaza stuff again. Like we're doing all of these things. Or if we're in South Dakota, we know what to expect. And that keeps us like feeling good. It keeps me sane.
And as an audience member, I mean, we also form relationships with you, right? I mean, we follow along. We figure out who our favorites are. I know, I think of like when I was younger with New Kids on the Block, I was such a fan of Jordan and I thought I was going to marry him. And, people like form these bonds and these relationships over people that they may have never met before, but they are avid fans and watch and see them, but they also follow them through their socials and other platforms. Like they feel like when you get on stage, just like what you're saying, that you owe it to us too, that it's the same people, the same synergy, the same energy. And it comes like that as a package deal, right? Because that's why we either bought a ticket to see you or did whatever to see you. It's like we want it as well too, as from an audience perspective.
Right. And I take that very seriously. Like when we were originally figuring out how to go about doing Old Red Las Vegas, because we would need to be out there for an extended period of time. And originally it was going to be for 7 shows in a row. And as feasible as that is, and people don't take into consideration, like when we're done with a show, not only are we exhausted, but everything from my toes to the top of my head hurts. Like we put everything onto it. And I straight up told them, we could do this, but I'm going to tell you, I'm only going to do 5, because at 6 and 7, you're not getting the same band. And that's not fair to anybody who's come out to see us. And it's not fair to us, because I don't like putting on a show if we don't feel like we're doing all of it. You know what I mean? Like we take pride in that. And if it doesn't feel like I can give you 100%, then why the hell am I here? So I just can't do it.
Speaking of bodies, I want to tell you that I think you have just a rockin' bod. I will just tell you right now. Like I was sharing, I'm sure you remember Allie from our team, but her and I were just talking before the podcast here. I said, her legs are smoking. Like
it's the legs.
Well, it's the hair, it's everything, right? So legs, hair, all the stuff, personality, everything. But how do you, so, I mean, you're talking about like, you need to be in tip top condition. So how do you keep yourself in that condition? Like, are you a workouter? Are you yoga, like meditation? Like
I gotta be.
It's just PBR. Tell me like how you keep yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, like how do you keep yourself in that condition to perform how you perform?
Honestly, it's taken a lot of figuring it out. And honestly, I think the biggest thing for me, being hydrated is a huge thing, but my number one thing that I have to like focus on if I'm working out anything, it's my voice, it's my vocal cords. And that is my number one thing that I have to take care of. So I do, I take precautions. I do things that like I know, anything that I know that potentially could hurt my vocal cords, I avoid, especially if I know I'm going to be doing, multiple shows in a row. But I'm very conscious of everything that I do when I am singing, and it would be very easy to hurt myself very quickly. And I've learned the hard way. What I can and can't do and what my limitations are. And like I said, like we could do 7 shows in a row. Am I going to feel it? And am I potentially going to hurt myself? Yes. And there, I'm not going to do that to myself, because I've gotten to that point where I'm going to say, no, I can't do, certain things. But like I'm not an avid worker outer. I happen to be born with 5-foot legs. So
they're incredible people.
They
work
incredible. For me. They
work for me,
but it's, I I feel like I don't have to, crazily. But because for 4 hours, for,
You're
3 to 4
going.
times a week, I am giving it 100%.
Yeah.
And when I tell you my hair, my extensions, my everything is soaking wet after every single show, it's 100% the truth. It is. Everything about it is. And there's nothing easy about singing. And I think that's the other thing that people don't know. On Broadway, we sing for 4 hours straight. There are no breaks. It is a 4-hour show. And nobody else does that. Like nowhere else in the world
That's incredible.
does 4 hours, only Broadway and Nashville.
Right.
And it's absolute insanity.
Wow.
And it's
I mean, when we hire
wild,
it's 90 minutes or 60 minutes. Yeah. It's just
that's
interesting.
The dream. Our dream is to get to that point where we can like say we're on a tour and we only have to play for an hour and a half, because at that point we'll feel like, what are we doing? What do we do for the next 3 hours?
You'll do it.
Like, what do we do?
We've got an event coming up with Parker McCollum and Warren Zeters and Julie Eddy, actually. Julie plays down on Broadway as well at the 1230 Club. And she's actually from South Dakota, so we've had the opportunity to work with her a little bit. But with those sets, though, they're in and out. Not that I'm diminishing their work at all, but it's 90 minutes. And I could not imagine. Yeah, I could not imagine the 4-hour piece of it. But you will get there. I have no doubt about it. No doubt about it. You're going to get there.
It's like we just want to get on an opening slot just to put our names out there, because we can do it. Like once I've always said that I just need somebody to put me in the right spot, because once we get there, we can take care of everything else. I can make everybody else like me. We're good. So it's just, I just need to get there. So that's the goal.
So what's next? Like, what's the next big thing for you all? Las Vegas, all the Las Vegas stuff,
we got we have 2 more shows for Las Vegas, and by 2 more shows I mean 10, because there's 10 of them. But we're gonna be back out in Las Vegas in July. We're doing this is now our 3rd year doing the Grand Ole Opry does their plaza parties. One of these days they're gonna let me play on the inside of the building.
I love it.
I'm working on it, so we'll see how that goes.
There's something so special about that space.
That is our Madison Square Garden. Even from New York, that's my Madison Square Garden. I want to play inside the Opry, and that's my goal. So one of these days we're going to do that, and then we're going to put out new music this year too. So that's
good for you.
We're working on that. There's just there's a lot of behind the scenes. Yeah,
a lot of good things.
A lot of that. Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up here, I have these questions here that our producer puts together, a whole lot of them actually. I know, I'm not going to ask you all of them, but I haven't even had the opportunity to read these. So every guest, we just draw one from the random stack here. So I'm going to draw a question, and the goal is you answer it. So I think they should be pretty fun. So I'm going to draw one from the middle. Okay.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. If you had the power to open any business in Nashville, what would it be and why?
Not music related, like something completely different than what I do for a living now?
Completely different.
Interior decorating, interior design.
Oh, fun. Yeah. I can already, we were just talking prior to the podcast, all of the stuff that you've got going on, from the things on the wall to the furniture to everything.
I like any kind of creative outlet. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I love to write songs. I love to make things. I love to design things, and I love decorating my house.
You're good at it. You're good
at it. Decorating. I like decorating anybody's house if they let me. So it's great.
I'll give you my address. We'll meet up. But
perfect.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was an awesome conversation. I told you, pretty easy, right? Nothing
I loved
hard.
This, Addie. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm excited. I am excited for our next event together. I don't know what that's going to look like, but
you just tell me where you want me, and we'll be there.
We will. But for those of you that are listening, be sure to follow Hudson Valley on all social platforms. Otherwise, thanks again for joining us, Sarah. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncorked and Unscripted. Make sure to follow and rate this podcast wherever you're watching or listening. Stay connected with us by following us on social media at Uncorked Unscripted on Instagram and Facebook, and at Uncork Unscript on Twitter and TikTok. And if you really enjoyed this episode, do us a huge favor and send it to a friend. See you soon. Bye.